Hey guys, it's Steve Harris. Today let's talk about mobile SEO. Now, this has been kind of a topic of discussion lately because on April 21st, Google is going to release a new algorithm. And what it's going to do is it's going to put an emphasis on mobile searches and looking for sites that have mobile-friendly versions. So a lot of users, and especially Muse users, have kind of panicked because they're worried that if they don't have a mobile site set up, they're going to see a huge drop in rankings. Now, the one thing you need to understand about this is it's mobile-only searches. So this is only if somebody's searching on their mobile device. So if you have a desktop site and it's ranking really well, you're not going to see a drop from this change. Now, another thing, though, that you may need to think about is, do you actually care about your mobile search rankings? For some businesses that are locally based, your lifeblood really requires users to find you when they're on the go. So they may be searching for your site or your business on their mobile device at a time. Now, as I said in the blog post, Muse Themes, for example, we see very little mobile traffic because our site is very much desktop oriented. So we don't need to worry quite as much about potentially a loss in mobile rankings. Now, of course, with that said, we did all the tests, we're all good to go, so we're not concerned. However, that is something that you may want to consider. And if your business does rely on mobile searches, well, then you'll need to do something about this and get your site optimized. Luckily for Muse users, the Adobe Muse team did actually do a lot of things behind the code or behind the scenes in the code to make your site mobile friendly. So on the Google kind of mobile SEO guidelines that I'm on here, there is a section on choosing your mobile configuration and signaling your configuration to search engines. Now, if you're building your site in Muse, let's just pull up a Muse site here, and this is the CAF8 template. If you have a desktop site like this, and let me up these thumbnails a little bit, and you've added a phone layout here, then what you've done is you're now signaling to Google that you're going with the approach that is called a separate URL. And that's one of their acceptable methods. They have said that there is no emphasis on being responsive or anything like that. The better your site is at being crawled and indexed, and the easier it is to use, the better your rankings. So Muse is actually a good bet for doing this. Now, once you've actually done that and created that separate mobile version in Muse, they've gone ahead and put some code in the head of the site. And I can actually show you what it looks like here. I'll pull up our Visual Arms website, and let me show you in the source code here. There's a line that says here, right there. So it's a link. It says, for max device width, which is 370 pixels, link to the alternate version of this page, which is the visualarms.com/phone version. And the important part of this is this little tag that says alternate. So Google has recommended in their guidelines that you have that tag. And of course, Muse puts that in for you already. So you're good to go. So if you've built a great looking mobile site right in Muse, as long as it was designed to function well on a mobile device, you should pass the test with flying colors. So Google has released this mobile-friendly test tool for you to use. And the best way to use it, of course, is just by inputting your URL. And so for our website here, this is kind of our freelance or design portfolio website, Visual Arms. I'm just going to put in the desktop link and click Analyze. And when I do that, it's going to analyze it, but it's going to find that link in the head of the site to the mobile version, and watch what happens. It says, congratulations, this site is mobile friendly. And it's actually pulling up the mobile version, even though I only put in the actual desktop link. So this is a good signal to Muse users that Google is finding the mobile version of your site successfully and referencing it successfully. Now, the only other thing you need to remember about this tool is that this is a page-specific tool. So it's analyzed the home page of this mobile site, but you may have various other pages on there. And let me show you what I mean. So we have visualarms.com/phone/index.html. That's the home page, but we also have a portfolio page like this. Oops, I spelled that wrong. There. So this is the portfolio mobile version. And so you'll need to check every single page on your phone website independently. This tool doesn't go through and check the whole site at once. And let's see what happens when this pops up. There you go. So we have a problem with this request. It says the test will analyze URL and report. So this almost seems like an error on the mobile testing tool side. So let's just reset that and do it again. Sometimes you'll need to do this a few times to get it through all the way. Okay, so there you go. So the portfolio page has also come up as friendly. So again, do this on every single page on your site to make sure you're good to go. One thing that I want to make note of, I tried testing a template link that we used. Now these are temporary sites hosted on Business Catalyst. If you test one of these in the mobile friendly test tool, let me try this. This is our academia site. It says that this URL is disallowed by robots. So the robots.txt file is a little file that tells search engines what pages they can search and which ones they can't. If you haven't published your Business Catalyst site live, you're just hosting it on a temp site, that robots.txt file has disallowed all search rankings or all search results. So just make sure that if you're actually going to be testing these sites, that they are live Business Catalyst websites. They're not just those temp versions that you're publishing out of Muse. Another really nice way that you can check to see if your site is actually mobile friendly is just to do a mobile search. So I use a system called Xcode, and it has this iOS simulator. So this little window here is basically simulating an iPhone 6. So if we go to google.com and we search for something, and I searched for MuseThemes out of curiosity, then what you get in your results is you can see obviously MuseThemes comes up here first, but there's this new little badge and it says mobile friendly, and that appears right in front of the kind of description of your site on a search result. So if you have this badge, it means that Google is seeing your site as mobile friendly. And I'll do the same thing for our Visual Arms website. And let's see what we get. Visual Arms, okay. And there you go. So we also got mobile friendly on this. So this is just another way for you to confirm that your site is actually passing this test in addition to running this tool on it. So once you've tested in the tool, you may have received a warning saying that there are elements on the site that aren't passing. So it could be something like font size, button size, touch elements too small. Now this is where you're getting into the design considerations of your mobile site. So from a functionality and setup and structure standpoint, you're good to go. You've built a Muse site, you've built a phone layout for it, everything's great. However, you probably didn't design your phone layout perfectly to function well on a mobile device. That's where we need to look at certain design elements. So if I jump into Muse here, and let's just go onto the CAF8 template, and this is the phone or the mobile version of the site. Let's take a look at a few elements. This is one that I wanted to point out. This is a button, so a full menu button. When you build a button on a mobile device, you need to make sure that you're building it at a size that's very comfortable to for somebody to potentially hit with their thumb or their index finger. If you're using a touch target or a button size and you're using it and it's only about this big, so just this tiny little button like that, it's going to be really difficult for somebody to hit it. And another consideration is if you end up putting multiple buttons side by side like this, well then it's nearly impossible for somebody to hit the right one. So this is a really important design consideration when you're designing for mobile. And in the post above, we've recommended if you're going to use a touch target, stick with something like 50 pixels by 50 pixels to be safe. That's about the size of an index finger, and that should yield you pretty good results on the mobile-friendly test tool. Also, when you're spacing these buttons out, just make sure that you've got healthy amount of space between them. Again, mobile design is all about making it simple and fast and easy for your users. And if it's difficult to push things on your site, you're going to get dinged by Google on those results. So another thing to consider, of course, is font size. Often we see users use the same font size for their desktop version as their mobile version. This doesn't always work out. We'd recommend you look at something like 15 or 16 pixels or point size as far as your text. Just make sure it's really comfortable to read. The nature of mobile design is for users to scroll through a site, so take advantage of all that scrolling height and make sure the text is big and visible. Another thing that's really important to consider in your mobile design is the use of widgets. So a simple widget like this is just a slideshow. Something like this, totally fine for you to use. However, we do release some widgets, for example, video carousel galleries and really heavy complex widgets that just are not suitable for the mobile versions of your site. Google has actually said in their Webmaster mobile guideline that they do not like what's called heavy or even unrestricted or blocked content. Now, we don't offer any blocked content on our widgets. They're all mobile friendly. However, they may be very big to load, and page speed is another important consideration. So If you find that your site is loading really slow because it's downloading huge videos, huge MP3 files, you could see your rankings suffer. So again, mobile design is all about getting them the info in as fast and as light of a way as possible. There is a tool out there, and it's called the page load speed or page insight speed. Let's just look for it here. So it's called the page speed insights. There you go. And so from there, you can actually enter in the URL of your site and analyze it. And it will just run through and make sure that your site is actually loading quickly and that there's not any issues. So even the Visual Arms website on the mobile version does have some speed issues. We've got some render blocking JavaScript and CSS. So this might be something like our custom typekit fonts or something like that. However, we did get quite good user experience rankings, and our tap targets are sized appropriately, viewports sized appropriately, so we're good. So this is just something that you can use to just test and see if your links or if your site is performing well. Another consideration that you need to make sure to follow is what's called relevant cross-linking. So you may see on the mobile site here of the Visual Arms website, let me jump to it here. So it's usually about this big. You can see that we have an about page, a portfolio page, and a contact page. But if you actually go to the full desktop site, oops, let me go back there. Okay, if I go to the full desktop site, you see that we actually have more pages. We have specific portfolio breakdowns. So this is where you're going to run into some issues with cross-linking. On our about page on the desktop website, we would want to link to the about page on our mobile site. Do not link pages like about, portfolio, services, all to the home page on the mobile site, for example, because that is not a relevant cross-link. Now, if you don't have a relevant page on your mobile version, then your best bet is just to do nothing. Just leave it out completely. So in the CAF8 template here, this is our home page. And let's say we wanted to link this black button here to the home page on the desktop site. We, of course, would use our hyperlinks panel and just make sure that you're actually going to the home page. You wouldn't want your home page on your mobile site to go to the about page and vice versa. So that's relevant cross-linking. The last thing that we'll take a quick look at here is something called Google Webmaster Tools. So if you've signed up for a Webmaster Tools account, then you can actually link up your Muse site, and it just gives you some information about your site kind of behind the scenes. So this is just a free service through Google, and it's really easy to set up. So you can see some things like search appearance and how people are visiting your site. This is kind of in addition to Google Analytics. But there is an area in here called crawl, and there's a robots.txt tester. And so if you've run the mobile compatibility tool and it's coming up and it's saying there's some blocked content, robots.txt is not allowing some content, you can use this tool to see what's happening and what's being blocked. Now, if your site is a simple Muse site, it's really unlikely that you're going to have this issue. But for something like our MuseThemes website, we have disallowed the robots.txt file to look at things like customer accounts or checkout pages. Anything that we want, especially private or secure, we've totally disallowed from Google from ranking or indexing those pages. And that's where you're going to see robots.txt coming into play. I don't think you're going to see this happening very much in Muse. The last thing that I wanted to mention to everyone is thinking as I'm bringing up my kind of freelance or creative design website here. I would take this opportunity to generate some new revenue and some new business building mobile sites for people who don't currently have them. So obviously with this shift, there's a good opportunity for you to inform business owners of how the mobile focus can affect their rankings. And of course, if their business relies on, say, foot traffic or people finding their business on the street, the mobile site's going to really come into play. And now the great thing about Muse is that even though somebody's site may not be built directly in Muse, you can still build a mobile site in Muse, and you just need to embed a little snippet of code that will redirect users on mobile devices to the new mobile site. So I've explained it in the blog post above, but just to quickly show you how that would be done. So you would just create a new site for this. Let's say this business has a website built in WordPress or something like that. And you would create a phone layout only. So your website would only have a phone layout, and you would design their entire mobile site just like this in Muse. So once you were done, you would click File and Export as HTML, and you just export this out to let's say a subfolder on your computer called Phone, just something like that. Now what you'd do is you'd log into your customer's FTP, and this is where their website is kind of hosted. So I use FileZilla, and I'll pull it up here. And if I just quickly connect to something like our Business Catalyst site, you'll see what happens. Whoops, picked the wrong one to connect, of course. Okay, so you pop up with all your list of folders, and let's say this is your client's site. So we would just drop the phone folder that had the unique phone version directly in the FTP like this. So then what you would do is you just need to embed a little snippet of code to redirect users to that phone version. And you can actually find this on the web. We've provided it above, but let's just search for JavaScript redirect to mobile. Okay, and so here, let's take this post, and there's a little snippet of code here that's just a bit of JavaScript, and it says in it, if screen width is less than 800, redirect to this location. So if you take this code just like that and copy it, and you open up an HTML file in any text editor, and you paste this into the head section of your website, and I'll show you what the head section looks like. Let me jump into this theme here and look at the source. The head section is anywhere between this upper head tag there, and there should be a lower head tag somewhere around here. It's probably way down there. But anyway, you just need to make sure it's somewhere in there. And so Muse actually has its own redirect code that I can even see right here. And it's, again, just JavaScript. But because you're going to be doing this on other platforms, you'll need to do it manually yourself. So you literally just copy and paste this code in, and you'll just make sure that you update the link to the mobile site. So this link right here will be that subfolder that you updated the mobile site in. And that's it. That's 100% of the method that you can kind of hack a mobile site into any existing platform, and you can build it using Muse. So take advantage of this opportunity. It won't be around long, and build some mobile sites for clients. Hopefully this guide has helped you in terms of passing that mobile test and your mobile SEO. And you know what? Don't panic about it. It's easily fixed, and Muse already did a great job for you. So thanks again, and best of luck. Cheers.